Got the love going up on a Tuesday. Hallelujah. Love for the underdog. Looking out for the underdog. Peace and blessings to you all. Greetings. Blessings, everyone. Those who are going to be tuning in. Those who may catch it on the replay. You can hit the rewind. It'll be up. Y'all willing. But looking out for the underdog. This is a topic that's been on my mind lately. Probably the past few weeks. And it's something I kind of put on the back burner. I kept shoving it to the side, and then I get another reminder or something, or as I go about my daily endeavors, something will come up that'll remind me of this topic. And I shouldn't say I dread speaking on this, but it's something that's like, you get done with work, you want to go do other things, and it's just like, today's not the day, but this topic came back up again today. I went to the UPS store, and wherever you go to the market or you go somewhere, there's usually, a lot of times you'll see like somebody setting up a booth with different arts and crafts they're selling, and they got some pamphlets to hand out, and they're trying to promote something or take donations. And this one little table outside the UPS store, right? They had like it's like, I stand for the silent or something, like bullying, uh, people who take their own lives, things like that. Homeless veterans, is a whole bunch of, is like a group of things combined, right? And so as I go into the UPS store, I seen them, they stopped me, and we talked, and so I was like, all right, there's another reminder. This topic came back up again today, because a few weeks ago, and I don't know about any of you guys, but you'll just be doing something, you get a weird memory from a long time ago, and you're like, how did I even remember that? Why did that old memory just come to my mind? Well, a few weeks ago, I had this memory of like being involved with people who picked on this one certain kid. And even if I wasn't the one picking on him, but just being involved with that group, or even laughing at some of the jokes, even if I wasn't the one initiating the joke, just the fact that I was laughing at it, or, being involved with them. And so this made me think, like, where would they be at today? What is it that they're doing? Because sometimes those that we laugh at, come to find out, they may be really good at something we are not good at. And we may need to hire them to do something that we can't do ourselves, or is beyond our expertise, beyond our knowledge, understanding, things like that. And so this one dude kind of came to my mind a few weeks ago. He's like, I wonder what he'd be doing, because little do we know, a lot of us, we're young, uh, and I don't know, each situation is different. Some people, they try to fit in, and some people, they get pleasure off of picking on others, whatever the case is. But looking out for the underdog is something that, I keep kind of neglecting, and I get different things that stir up this topic again. So here I am speaking on it. Peace and blessings to you all. Let's go to Psalm 105. Psalm chapter 105, verse 15 through 17. Psalm 105, verse 15 through 17. Do not touch my anointed ones. Do my prophets no harm. He called down famine on the land and destroyed all their supplies of food. And he sent a man before them, Joseph, sold as a slave. Mm. Let's read 18 and 19 too. They bruised his feet with shackles, his neck was put in irons, till what he foretold came to pass, till the word of Yahweh proved him true. Sadler, peace and blessings to you. Thanks for tuning in. Psalm 105, particularly verse 15. Do not touch my anointed ones. Do my prophets no harm. It's real funny, like how we don't understand the future, how we don't understand the impact some of the things we do, and the level of influence it can either make or break someone, or even cause harm on ourselves. And so, this memory a couple of weeks ago came back to me of like this one dude who just kind of got ragged on, heavy. He wasn't all that cool. A lot of people, they may not have thought he was cool. I mean, he's just like any one of us. And but it makes me think, like, where would he be at today if we stayed in contact, if we were all in the same state, and what is it that he'd be doing? Because sometimes we fail to realize, like I was saying about the future, we don't understand just what somebody is capable of becoming, or what the Father can use them to achieve or to make a difference in the world. And so here we are, we may be picking on somebody we think they're not that cool, or they got some flaw that we want to rag on them about. But little do we know, we could be messing with one of Yah's chosen. Somebody who's got a special calling on their life. Psalm 105:15. Let's go to Psalm 146. Looking out for the underdog. What kind of pushed me to do this today is, like I say, at the UPS store, they had that booth. One of those people try and get donations and share their ministry or whatever. And one of their things that they're supporting is those who have taken their own lives. And if any of you guys have spoke with me personally, or maybe you've known from growing up with me, that I had a neighbor who did that. I don't know where he stood spiritually, so I let y'all be the judge on where he's at. But he took his own life. And so I shared this story with them. It was like, yeah, I'll donate because I've got a friend who did that. But this kid, this friend I grew up with, same neighborhood, he was always looking out for the underdog. That kid who was rejected, or that kid who's kind of pushed to the side, like, he's just so welcoming. He'd like, don't worry about it. If you don't know how to play the game, we'll show you. Like, come join us. And it was cool. He taught me how to skateboard. He quit, and then when he got back into skateboarding, I was able to teach him different things. So it was real cool. He was a good dude. But it just goes to show we don't know the battles that go on behind closed doors. And what we may think is fun or funny to rag on somebody, we may take it lighthearted. We don't understand the internal battles that they're facing, or what goes on behind closed doors. So looking out for the underdog, I pray this will give you guys some reminders, maybe help humble you, help humble you guys and see, where it is you can try to help somebody out. Psalm 146, 8 through 10. Psalm chapter 146, verse 8 through 10. Yahweh gives sight to the blind. Yahweh lifts up those who are bowed down. Yahweh loves the righteous. Yahweh watches over the foreigner and sustains the fatherless and the widow. But he frustrates the ways of the wicked. Yahweh reigns forever. Your Elohim, O Zion, for all generations. Praise Yahweh. The Father's got love for the underdog. Those with a humble, meek spirit, crushed, contrite heart, a broken spirit and a contrite heart. He loves those. Those who are humble, those who don't let their pride, they're not too heady, high-minded, too puffed up. Y'all wants to deal with the humble, the meek, the outcast. Psalm 146, 8 through 10. Yahweh gives sight to the blind. Yahweh lifts up those who are bowed down. Yahweh loves the righteous. Yahweh watches over the foreigner and sustains the fatherless and the widow. But he frustrates the ways of the wicked. Yahweh reigns forever. Your Elohim, O Zion, for all generations. Praise Yahweh. Philippians chapter 2, 1 through 4. This is the book of... Hey, you're good. No, hey, any of you guys have questions, drop them in the chat. I'm not opposed to that. How does one humble themselves? Not trying to interrupt. You're not a bother at all. How does one humble themselves? I know for me, I can reflect on like a bad situation. Me, if I get too prideful, sometimes I know a lot of us, man. A lot of us like a Friday. Friday, we get that feeling the work week's done, or just having the weekend coming up. We get excited. We get like our spirits are lifted up. We sometimes we can get prideful about that. We uh, or if there's something we're good at, and we're working with others who they may not be at the same level of experience or something, and how does one humble themselves? Each person is different, but how I humble myself is I can think on bad situations, those what if questions. What if this were to go wrong, or what if I can humble myself by thinking of a bad example and saying, that could happen to me. I better tone it down a little bit or something, and hey, brothers, man, if any of you guys have thoughts or something, you see a beautiful lady or something attractive to you, and you start going beyond their looks and more into their physicality, like you reminding yourself, these are Yah's daughters, these are somebody's daughters, these are your sisters. They may not be blood or something, but in different ways you can humble yourself, thinking of trying to change your thoughts, because really that's what it is. It's in the mind, the pride in your spirit, different things like that. How does one humble themselves? I hope that helps. I may not have the best explanation for it, but what works for me is changing my thoughts, thinking of bad situations that could go wrong, or really trying to change my thoughts. Um, Philippians Philippians chapter 2. He's like, yes, I hear you. I see. Shut up. You made your point. Oh, praise to the Most High. Um, how does one humble themselves? Here's another thing too. If you don't humble yourself, y'all will do it for you. I've had that happen. I've many times working in the yard or working on the truck, and like I get to thinking about, I may think about something that's bad, or I think about somebody that hurt me, or different things, and I get these negative thoughts, and then the next thing you know, I smash my finger, or and hey, you're all good, brother. Um, but working outside or something, working on the truck, working in the yard, like I'll either like cut myself or smash my finger, like. And normally when something like that happens, it's because I've thought of something that I shouldn't have been thinking about. Like maybe it's resentment or some anger about a situation, and um, or just having some hasty words inside my mind. Even if I don't physically speak them, just the thoughts of like cussing in my head. Um, and like that, the Most High will humble me. I'll smash my finger or something like that, get cut, or have something break. If I'm trying to fix something, it could even have a tool break, one of the parts break on what I'm fixing, and it really, the Father's got, the Most High, He's got a way of getting our attention. So there's a little more thoughts on humbling yourselves. I hope that helps. Looking out for the underdog. This can go into humbling ourselves because, if we're ragging on somebody, or we're in a group that is making fun of somebody else, and even if we're not the ones picking on somebody, just being involved, laughing at the jokes or something, laughing, playing along with them, even if you're not the one initiating it, like thinking about, like, maybe you had a situation where somebody did some heinous things to you, or uh, putting ourselves in other people's shoes. Sure, because that's just something that's so beautiful. The Most High, He made us all the same, but yet we're unique. We are all human, yet we have our own strengths and weaknesses, and there's always something that we're lacking. There's always something where we're weaker than somebody else in. And so that's a good way too to remind you, like, yeah, I may be better at him at this, or I may be better than her doing that, but she's better at this than me in this area. There's always something where, we all fluctuate in different strengths and weaknesses. Philippians chapter 2, 1-4. The book of Philippians chapter 2, verse 1-4. Therefore, if there is any encouragement and comfort in Messiah, as there certainly is in abundance, if there is any consolation of love, if there is any fellowship that we share in the Spirit, if there is any great depth of affection and compassion, make my joy complete by being of the same mind, having the same love toward one another, knit together in spirit, intent on one purpose, in living a life that reflects your faith and spreads the gospel, the good news regarding salvation through faith in Hamashiach. Do nothing from selfishness or empty conceit, through factional motives or strife, but with an attitude of humility, being neither arrogant nor self-righteous, Regard others as more important than yourselves. Do not merely look out for your own personal interests, but also for the interests of others. Verse 5, have this same attitude in yourselves, which was in Yeshua Mashiach. Look to him as your example in selfless humility. And that might even give you some more clarity too. Verse 3, do nothing from selfishness or empty conceit through factional motives or strife, but with an attitude of humility, being neither arrogant nor self-righteous, regarding others as more important than yourselves. Oh boy. I know me with speeding, I love to drive fast. Not just because I love to, but really I do so many things in a rush. It doesn't matter if I'm off at 11. It doesn't matter if I'm off at 4. Whatever the time is, I'm still going to be in a rush. It can be a Sunday, the weekend, and I'll still be in a rush. But what was I getting at? Verse 3, do nothing from selfishness or empty conceit through factional motives or strife, but with an attitude of humility, being neither arrogant nor self-righteous, regard others as more important than yourselves. Okay, so I've had many instances of things in my eyes, and I'll try to push through it. I'll try to drive, get to where I'm going, and like sawdust or dirt, and it's like I'm over here like trying to, it feels like it's scratching my eye and it hurts. It's red. It's all blurry, and sometimes like that, I may swerve a little bit or I drive extra slow, and in verse 3 where it said, regard others as more important than yourselves. A lot of times if I'm in a hurry or I'm trying to drive fast and I get frustrated, like, why are you driving so slow? Gosh, why do you have to drive the speed limit? You can do 60 through here. It'll be all right. And, but then this verse reminds me of like regarding others as more important than ourselves. That could be a grandma in there who is not able to see very clear, so she has to drive slower. Or it could be a mom with children fighting in the back. They're she's trying to get them to calm down, and her driving may be off a little bit. Humility, looking out for the underdog, humbling ourselves, valuing others. Philippians 2:3, do nothing from selfishness or empty conceit through factional motives or strife, but with an attitude of humility, being neither arrogant nor self-righteous, regard others as more important than yourselves. Here's another one too. A lot of these Israelite camps, they learn the law, statutes, commandments, and they kind of get puffed up with their head knowledge. They just want to bash people over the head with the sword, and sometimes even, try to take the head off with the sword, But we got to remember where we came from. Remember where we didn't know everything, and we still are learning, right? Not to be, verse 3, being neither arrogant nor self-righteous, but with an attitude of humility, remembering where we were once filthy. We're still dirty, but we're not filthy like we were. Hallelujah. Y'all still refining us. Love, joy, peace, patience, meekness, temperance, long suffering, fruits of the Spirit. This will help as we look out for the underdog, growing our gardens, spiritually talking. So Philippians 1 has some more I want to share. Philippians chapter 1, verse 20 through 25. 20 through 25. 19, 20. All right. It is my own eager expectation and hope that looking toward the future, I will not disgrace myself nor be ashamed in anything, but that with courage and the utmost freedom of speech, even now as always, Hamashiach will be magnified and exalted in my body, whether by life or by death. For to me to live is Messiah. He is my source of joy, my reason to live, and to die is gain. For I will be with him in eternity. If, however, it is to be life here and I am to go on living, this will mean useful and productive service for me, so I do not know which to choose if I am given that choice. But I am hard pressed between the two. I have the desire to leave this world and be with Hamashiach, for that is far, far better. Yet to remain in my body is more necessary and essential for your sake. Okay, this is what I was getting at. Those who, those who may struggle or who have been bullied or, you know, whatever life is throwing at you, whatever battles you're facing, you have great work to do here. Listen to verse 23 through 25. But I am hard pressed between the two. Speaking about life or death, this choice, like, do I continue living? Like I say, I had that friend who took his own. And, but verse 23, but I am hard pressed between the two. I have the desire to leave this world and be with Hamashiach, for that is far, far better. Yet to remain in my body is more necessary and essential for your sake. Since I am convinced of this, I know that I will remain and continue with all of you for your progress and joy in the faith, so that your rejoicing. No, I want to stop at 25. Yet to remain in my body is more necessary and essential for your sake. Since I am convinced of this, I know that I will remain and continue with all of you progress, for your progress and joy in the faith. There's great work to do here. I know it gets challenging. Sometimes this walk gets heavy. It might be too much to bear at times. But you just know that whatever it is you're going through, Yah's using it for his glory. He's going to use it to chasten you, and he can use it as a testimony so that when you get to the end of the tunnel, you can reach back to others and be able to share with them of what Yah is capable of bringing you through, or what he's capable of doing for us. The oil in the lampstand keeps coming to mind, but also not growing faint in well doing. Yes, don't be weary in well doing. You may not get instant results, but Yah sees what you're doing. I was speaking with a brother this weekend, and I refer to it as a puzzle piece. The puzzle, you're an individual puzzle piece, and you may get close to being connected, but it may not fit. So you get set to the side while some other pieces get connected. And by the time those other details get brought together and you're connected, it makes a beautiful full picture. So just because you get set to the side or you may not see any results, Yah's still working. He may not have all the details ready yet. But once he gets all the details in alignment and he's ready for you to bring you in, what a beautiful picture it'll be. Whether it's a forest or, what kind of puzzles they got. Rivers, nature scenes. I don't know. Let's go to the book of Sirach. The book of Sirach, coming out the Apocrypha, also known as Ecclesiasticus. Sirach 33. Sirach 33 and 31. Come on. Why did it just do that? $33 and $31. Go. Technology, it's a double-edged sword. It can be so helpful, yet slow, and can also be detrimental. It's a blessing and a curse. Technology, inventions, advancements in the world. Let's try this again. Sirach 33, 31. Oh my goodness. All right. Might have to go old school here. Starts in 63. Page 71, 81. Okay. Sirach chapter 33, verse 31. This is the book of Sirach, chapter 33, verse 31. If thou have a servant, entreat him as a brother, for thou hast need of him as of thine own soul. If thou entreat him evil, and he run from thee, which way wilt thou go to seek him? Saying, look, even if you got a servant, treat him like a brother. For thou hast need of him as of thine own soul. This is what I was speaking about earlier, that nerd, that geek, that math whiz, or whatever the case is, that computer, I don't know. But that nerd, that geek that we rag on could just be what we need to help us type out an email, or like bring up something, how to update something on your computer. Sirach 33 and 31. If thou have a servant, entreat him as a brother, for thou hast need of him, as of thine own soul. If thou entreat him evil, and he run from thee, which way will thou go to seek him? And I was thinking earlier too, like, growing up, those kids we may have poked fun of, they're probably doing something that we are needing to hire them to do because we haven't learned it ourselves. You're too dumb to take the time, or we think we're too cool, or pride, really too arrogant. We may think we're too good for that or something, but they could be just the ones that we need their help from. Looking out for the underdog topic. Sirach 33 and 1, 33, 31. Let's backpedal to chapter 10. chapter 10. Sirach, chapter 10. There's some more in this. Okay. Looking out for the underdog. Sirach, chapter 30. It's chapter 10. Salaki. Sirach, chapter 10. Starting with verse 12. The beginning of pride is when one departs from Elohim and his heart is turned away from his maker. For pride is the beginning of sin, and he that hath it shall pour out abomination. And therefore Yahweh brought upon them strange calamities and overthrew them utterly. Yahweh cast down the thrones of proud princes and set up the meek in their stead. Yahweh has plucked up the roots of the proud nations and planted the lowly in their place. Isn't that something? This is Sirach chapter 10, where we're reading right now. Goes to show how the Most High feels about pride and how he values the lowly, the outcast, the underdog. Where was it? 15, Sirach chapter 10 and 15. Yahweh has plucked up the roots of the proud nations. He took up the roots of the proud nations. And what does he do? And planted the lowly in their place. Verse 16, Yahweh overthrew countries of the heathen and destroyed them to the foundations of the earth. Verse 18, pride was not made for men, nor furious anger for them that are born of a woman. 19, they that fear Yahweh are a sure seed, and they that love him an honorable plant. They that regard not the law are a dishonorable seed. They that transgress the commandments are a deceivable seed. This is, we're looking out for the underdog, but this is also humbling ourselves. Hey, I am's blessings. Peace and blessings to you, I am. Thanks for tuning in. Sirach chapter 10, verse 12. Let's start there again. The beginning of pride is when one departeth from Elohim and his heart is turned away from his maker. So yes, we're looking out for the underdog, but this also puts a mirror on ourselves, because looking out for the underdog can begin by casting down our pride, setting our pride to the side. Verse 13, for pride is the beginning of sin, and he that hath it shall pour out abomination. He's just describing the severity of this. He that hath it shall pour out abomination, and therefore Yahweh brought upon them strange calamities and overthrew them utterly. What a shame. All by pride. It's not something that... Pride is not something like... You wouldn't think is that severe, because you're not killing, you're not stealing. But pride, it's a kind of a silent and deadly... He overthrew them utterly. Verse 14, Yahweh hath cast down the thrones of proud princes and set up the meek in their stead. There it is again, meek. Yah loves a spirit of meekness. Let's go to Hebrews. We got 2 more to read. Almost through with this. Hebrews 13. Let's get it. Let's go. Hebrews chapter 13. I was thinking of let brotherly love continue, but I changed up the translation. Here it is. It says, let love of your fellow believers continue. Do not neglect to extend hospitality to strangers, especially among the family of believers. being friendly, cordial, and gracious, sharing the comforts of your home, and doing your part generously. For by this some have entertained angels without knowing it. Remember those who are in prison as if you were their fellow prisoner, and those who are mistreated, since you also are in the body and subject to physical suffering. And so that's something too, how I was thinking about the way I humble myself sometimes is I can think about putting myself in that position, or what would it be like if I had the same suffering, or, you know, just reminding myself the realities of the situation. Like, this could happen to me, I can't be too prideful. The same thing, y'all can turn it around. And oh, that reminds me, rejoice not in calamity. Let me find that one, because y'all can stop his wrath and send it right back to you. Rejoice not. What scripture was that? If you know it, drop it in the chat. Rejoice not in iniquity. Uh, in your enemy. Rejoice not in. It had to do with an enemy, or like somebody. The bigger the harder it falls. Oof. Yeah, those wings are gonna get. They're not gonna be able to. Those wings are gonna be flying and not realize how close they are to a tree, and that wing's gonna get smashed, and then it's gonna lose its flight. That's terrible. Oh, here it is. Blessing, settler. He got it. Proverbs 24:17-18. Rejoice not when thy enemy falleth, and let not thy heart be glad when he stumbleth. Lest the Lord see it and it displease him, and he turn away his wrath. Ooh. And see, that's very humbling. That's sobering, I should say. Very sobering, because you see somebody going through a suffering that you may be frustrated at them, or you may have a little bit of resentment that you or unforgiveness harboring within you. And you got to remind yourself, hey, this can happen to me. Regardless of who it is, I don't want them to have to suffer through that. Even if, like, whatever the case is, whether it be destruction or medical injury or something, y'all can turn it around and have that happen to us. So that's very sobering to think and remind ourselves the reality of the matter. All right, last one. 1 Timothy chapter 4. It is a narrow path, family. Yeah, that's for sure. 1 Timothy chapter 4, verse 12. Don't let anyone think less of you because you are young. Be an example to all believers in what you say, in the way you live, in your love, your faith, and your purity. Whether you're young, whether you're scrawny, whether you may not be as smart, or maybe you're a different type of learner. Some people learn well hands-on. Some people learn by listening. Other people learn well by watching a visual or seeing a visual. And we all have different, like I was saying, we all fluctuate with different strengths and weaknesses. One person may be more knowledgeable in an area that somebody else isn't, and somebody else may be knowledgeable in an area that we're not. 1 Timothy 4:12. Don't let anyone think less of you because you are young. Be an example to all believers in what you say, in the way you live, and your love, your faith, and your purity. Looking out for the underdog. There you have it. Stay encouraged. Peace and blessings to you all. May the Most High help uplift you, help enlighten you, give you some encouragement from this. and maybe even humble ourselves because, like I say, there's times I'm in a rush. I'd be driving fast, and I'm like, geez, why are you driving the speed limit? Like, come on, let's get going. And it humbles me down too because I need this humble reminder that, like, look, there could be a situation going on in their car. They may have something in their eye. They may be an old elder and can't see very well, or they're trying to settle down children who are disputing. So, lots you can get from this if you're willing. May the Most High be with you. Blessings to you all. I pray the rest of your week is good. Questions, comments, drop them in the chat. Thank you all for joining. Thank you all who are going to catch the replay. Sure is. Thanks for the build, brothers. Enjoy y'all's evening. I'm glad I caught this one. Thank you, sir. You too, I am. All right. Yeah. To y'all be the glory. Use me as a vessel, Father. Peace and blessings to you all for King and Kingdom.